There's a verse in the Bible that you have probably read 100 times, maybe even 1,000. It's short, it's simple, and it holds inside 8 Hebrew words a full financial system that has been creating wealth for over 3,000 years. And here's what's going to bother you. You already know this verse. You've heard it in church. You've seen it on greeting cards. But you've never been shown what it really means. Because the meaning, the true meaning, the one that lives in the original Hebrew, was either lost in translation or purposely left out. Jesus knew this verse. He didn't just know it, he used it. Every time money ran out, every time provision was uncertain, every time the situation looked hopeless, he went back to this one verse, not as a prayer, not as a wish, as a technology. And today I'm going to show you exactly which verse it is, what it says in Hebrew that the English translation misses, and why Kennets who understand this verse have been using it as a daily financial practice for thousands of years. But first, you need to understand why. Your current approach to money, the one you were taught, is almost certainly working against you. You pray for money. You ask God to provide. You say, Lord, send me what I need. And you feel like you're doing the right thing. You're being humble. You're trusting. You're putting it in His hands. But let me ask you something. How long have you been doing that? Months? Years? Maybe your whole adult life? And where are you? If you're honest, really honest, you're in the same place or close to it. The bills still come. The worry at the end of the month still comes. That quiet panic when something unexpected breaks and you don't know where the money will come from, it still comes. And the worst part isn't the money. The worst part is the guilt. Because somewhere inside you think, maybe God isn't answering because I'm not faithful enough. Maybe I don't deserve it. Maybe I'm doing something wrong. You're not unfaithful. You are doing something wrong. But it's not what you think. It's not a problem of faith. It's a problem of method. And the difference between those two things is the difference between poverty and prosperity according to the very book you're reading. The verse is Proverbs 10:22, in Hebrew, Hashem. Let me translate that the way it should have always been translated. The blessing of Hashem. That is what creates wealth. And human toil adds nothing to it. Did you catch that? Your toil, your grinding, your overtime, your side hustle adds nothing. That's not my interpretation. That's the literal Hebrew. The toil, the suffering, which also means pain, sorrow, anxiety, adds nothing to it. Now think about what that means for how you've been living. You work 10 hours, 12 hours. You come home worn out and you pray, God bless my effort, make it enough, multiply what I earned. But the verse says your effort isn't the source. The blessing is the source. Your effort is something else entirely. So what is your effort? This is where it gets extraordinary. Because Rambam, Maimonides, born in Cordoba in 1135, yes, 1135, wrote in his Mishnah Torah, Laws of Talmud Torah, chapter 3, Halakha 10, something that appears to contradict Proverbs completely. Anyone who decides not to work and to live off charity profanes the name of God. Profanes, not is unwise, profanes. So we have a problem. Proverbs says, your effort adds nothing. Maimonides says, not working is profanation. Who's right? Both. And the answer to that puzzle is what Jesus understood. It's what he practiced, and it's what nobody ever taught you. In the Kabbalah, and I mean the actual Zohar, not the Instagram version, there's a concept called Keli, K-E-L-I. In Hebrew, it means vessel, container, receptacle. The Zohar in the portion of Vayera says something that when you understand it, your whole relationship with money shifts. Blessing from above requires a vessel in order to appear in the physical world. A vessel, not a request, not a prayer, a vessel. Think of it this way. The blessing is water. The water exists. It's already there. It's always been there. But if you don't have a cup, where does it go? It spills. It evaporates. You can't hold it. Your work is not the source of your wealth. Your work is the vessel. It's the cup. And the difference between people who prosper and people who don't, according to the Kabbalah, is not how hard they pray. It's what kind of vessel they build. And this is what Jesus was doing every time he referenced Proverbs 10:22. He wasn't asking God for money. He was building the vessel. He was getting the container ready so the blessing had somewhere to land. That difference between asking and preparing is everything. I'll be honest with you. When I first came across this concept, I dismissed it. I thought it was poetic mysticism dressed up as financial advice. Beautiful language, no practical use. But then I looked at the data, and the data is, well, it's hard to argue with. And this is only one of the principles. The concept of the vessel, the Keli, is actually the third of 15 wealth codes that I documented after years of studying these texts. 15 specific strategies that the Jewish people have used, not theoretically, not spiritually, but practically, to build and protect wealth across generations, exiles, and disasters. I put all 15 into a guide called 15 Jewish Wealth Codes. The Keli Principle, the Bava Metzia Privacy Code, the Shabbat Reset Protocol, the Blessing Sequence, 15 codes, each one traced back to its original Talmudic or Kabbalistic source, each one with a modern scientific parallel, and each one with a step-by-step application you can start using right away. The link is in the first pinned comment and in the description. But stay, because what comes next is the scientific proof that makes this impossible to dismiss. Martin Seligman, psychologist at the University of Pennsylvania, published what I consider one of the most important studies of the 20th century. It's called Learned Helplessness. Originally published in 1967, and updated in, I think it was 98, might have been 95, the updated version. Regardless, what Seligman discovered is that when a person asks for something again and again from another person, from an organization, from anything, and gets no response, their brain learns that nothing works. It's not that they stop believing, it's worse. They stop trying. They become inwardly convinced that nothing they do matters. They give up inside while still going through the motions outside. Sound familiar? Because that is exactly what happens to millions of people who pray for money every night using the method they were taught. They ask, nothing happens. They ask again. Nothing happens. And their brain, without them knowing, is learning helplessness. It's learning that asking doesn't work. And each prayer becomes a weaker, more desperate version of the one before. Seligman proved that the only way to break the helplessness cycle is to change the action. Not to ask harder, not to believe more, to do something different. Something that proves to the brain, I can generate a result. And that is exactly what the concept of Keli does. You don't ask, you build. You construct the vessel. And your brain registers, I'm doing something concrete. I'm taking control. I'm not begging, I'm preparing. This reminds me of something I read in a paper about behavioral economics that Richard Thaler published at Chicago. Actually, that's a whole separate topic. The point is the overlap between what Seligman discovered in Pennsylvania and what the Kabbalists taught 800 years ago is too precise to be coincidence. Now there's something else, something in the Talmud itself, Tractate Bava, Metzia, folio 42a, that says, blessing only rests upon that which is hidden from the eye. Hidden from the eye. That means when you expose your money, when you count it in front of people, when you talk about your income, when you show off your wealth, you're removing the vessel's protection. The blessing has nowhere to hide, so it leaves. And this, I believe, is one of the most overlooked financial principles in all of ancient writing. It's why Jewish culture developed such a deep tradition of financial privacy. It's not modesty, it's not humility, it's technology. It's protecting the vessel. Jesus understood this. He never talked about money publicly. He said, do not let your left hand know what your right hand is doing. Matthew 6:3. That's not just moral advice. That's Bava Metzia 42a in action. That's vessel protection. What I just showed you, Proverbs 10:22, the Keli, Bava Metzia 42a, that's 3 codes, 3 out of 15. In 15 Jewish wealth codes, I break down every single wealth-building strategy the Jewish people have used across 3,000 years of history. Code number 7, for instance, is the Shabbat wealth reset. The practice of deliberate rest on the seventh day isn't just spiritual, it's a financial recalibration tool that neuroscience is only now beginning to understand. Code 12 is the tzedakah paradox. How giving away money before you have enough is the surprising mechanism that opens the vessel wider. Each code is sourced. Each code has a modern parallel, and each one has a practical plan you can put in place in under 10 minutes. You don't need to know Hebrew. You don't need to change your faith. You need the complete map. The link is in the pinned comment and in the description. I want to close with something from Tractate Bava Batra, folio 35b. There's a debate, one of those debates that the Talmud is famous for, between Rabbi Ishmael and Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai. Rabbi Ishmael says, work, plant your field, harvest your grain, combine Torah study with a worldly occupation. Rabbi Shimon says, if a person plows in the plowing season and sows in the sowing season and harvests in the harvest season, when will they study Torah? No. When Israel does the will of God, their work is done by others. 2 rabbis, 2 opposite positions, same Talmud. And the conclusion the Talmud reaches, this is important, is many followed Rabbi Ishmael's path and succeeded. Many followed Rabbi Shimon's path and did not succeed. Work wins, but not because work is the source, because work is the vessel. Without the vessel, blessing has nowhere to go. Without the blessing, the vessel stays empty. That's Proverbs 10:22. That's what Jesus practiced. That's the code. And it's available to you. Not tomorrow, not when you're ready, tonight. If you want to break the pattern, the real pattern, the one that keeps money moving through your hands like water, get 15 Jewish wealth codes. 15 wealth-building strategies taken directly from the Talmud, the Zohar, and the Torah. Each one with its original source, its scientific backing, and a step-by-step plan you can start using tonight. The vessel code, the privacy code, the Shabbat reset, the Tzedakah paradox, the pronunciation protocols, the blessing sequences, 15 codes, 3,000 years of proof, one guide. The link is in the first pinned comment and in the description. Go get it and start tonight. Build the vessel. Stop asking. Start receiving. Comment verse if you're starting tonight. Baruch atah. The information presented is educational and reflective, based on millennial Jewish tradition and published academic research. For financial or health decisions, always consult a qualified professional.